Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. In the last class, we talked about the basics of use case diagram. What is a use case diagram? Why do we use it? The purpose of use case diagram, and the basic notation, and few examples of with those basic notations. Today, we will study more detailed concepts like extend, include, generalization, etc. So let's start. In fact, the last class we talked about this very simple basic use case diagram in which we have seen that there is no other symbol in the system or along with the use cases. Rather, every actor is connected to each use case, right? So there was no complexity in this diagram. So now we'll study the more concepts. So here there is a concept of include. So in the we have seen that normally we connect the actor with the use case with a very simple line, but this is a dotted line with an arrowhead, right? So now this is known as include. So the include relationship is used to show that certain behavior specified by the include use case is contained by the including use case, right? So here include use case is something that is mandatory that we must implement. So if I say that a user wants to place order, so the user will not be placed the order unless he logs in or he is logged in. So that means I'll have to include along with this is my normal use case, right? So I will include another thing that is login, and I will connect with this include line that describes in fact place order requires it is mandatory, it is necessary that before placing the order, we must be logged in or we must perform the login operation. So this activity, this functionality requires the login functionality. So it says included use cases are mandatory behavior. So this is included and it has the mandatory behavior. It is must that we must log in and that we must place the order. So now, if I give you another example, for example, there is a customer who orders the meal, right? So when he orders the meal, he'll have to pay, he'll have to choose, right? Choose the menu, and then he's have to select the items from that menu, and then he will have to pay. So all these things, in fact, included in ordering a meal. So whenever we order, first of all, we select the menu, and from that menu, we select the items, and then we pay for it, and we get the meal. Then second, there is a customer who wants to write review or subscribe to the reviews normally, sorry, subscribe to the reviews. So there is another include. So he chooses the locality in which area, right? And then it includes the pay. So now again, in order to subscribe to reviews, there is included use case, there is pay and to choose the locality. So in fact, include is something that is required for these to be performed. So if you want to do this, we will have to do these as well. If we want to do this, we will have to do these as well. There is another thing in the included use case that we can use it multiple times. So you can see that this pay is being used with the use case subscribe to review, and this same pay use case is being used with the order a meal. So this is very good that instead of making these things again and again, when we include, in fact this is something independent, and we use this with two or more use cases. So this is about the include. Let's talk about the extend. The extend use case accomplishes this by conceptually inserting additional action. Remember, these are the additional actions that are sometimes performed and sometimes those are not performed. So, inserting additional action sequences into the base use case sequence, right? So, if I show you here, we have registration. So, if I am going to register myself on some website, so many time I do not need to get the help about that registration process. But sometimes it happens if I'm going to register at some website or some organization, what I need is I need to ask about the different things, how to register, how to input data, what the documents are required. So now check. In fact, this is my base use case that I want to do user register perform the registration. But for this, sometime it is extended. Sometime he or she gets help on registration. So this is not mandatory. It is additional action. There is sometime needed and we do it, and sometimes we do not need that. So that is totally optional, right? So we go back. The extend relationship is used to include optional behavior that is not must from an extending use case in an extended use case, right? So in that case, again, in fact, this is optional and it is not must that whenever I'm doing this, I will definitely do that. No, I will not do that. I can perform registration without getting the help. But that is possible that someone while registration needs some help. So this is about the extend use case. Now we will look at in fact a diagram or an example with extend and include operations or association. Driver takes the trip, and now this trip has got few more include and extend use cases. So now if I check, here is a fuel vehicle and this is include, right? So include means this is must. So that means when driver will take to a trip, he will definitely add the fuel or will uh, get the fuel in the car or truck or van, whatever he is driving. So this is must. So this is include. But yes, there is another thing. Eat meal or he photographs the sites, he takes snaps. So these two things are optional. These are not must to take that trip. Maybe he eats meal or maybe he does not, right? So the driver takes the trip and this is extend. That means that the driver is not supposed, he is not, it is not compulsory for him to eat the meal. It is not compulsory for him to take the photograph. So these two are the functionalities that are optional, but the fuel is required, so it is include, right? So we use in this way the include and extend operations. Another thing, so now we have a credit card user who in fact pays. So now user can sign in or user can make payment. So if I move from here, user makes the payment, so he cannot make payment until he signs in. So remember, we have connected these two use cases with include. That means if we want to make the payment, we will have to sign in. And similarly, if he want to make the payment, either I'm saying either because here we have got the extent. So that means he can do this or he may not do this, and he can do this and he may not do this. So now check, he can make payment via visa payment, he can make payment via mastercard payment. So these two, that is why we have kept these two extent, right? There is either this or this. So this is the difference between include and extend relationship or include and extend association. And there is another concept of generalization in use cases, right? A use case generalization is a relationship from a child use case to a parent use case, specifying how a child can specialize all behaviors and characteristics described from the parent. You would have heard about the inheritance, right? This is similar to that. For example, if I'll have to search, so I'll say that search by call number or search by author. So we have two kinds of searching, but in fact, these two are generally search. Search by call name number is search. Search by author is search. So these two, in fact, are search. So these are the child use cases, and this one is the parent use case. And we describe this with this kind of arrowhead, right? Wherever in the use case you will find this kind of arrowhead, this describes the generalization. That is, we have taken the specific use cases and we have tried to make them a generalized use case depending upon the behavior and characteristics of those use cases. So in fact, now these child use cases with will inherit the behavior and characteristics of this parent, that is search use case. So now I give you another example for the generalization. Now check order registry clerk, right? So in fact, it receives some order, right? And now there are few customers who are going to place the orders. So now if I have a normal customer who hasn't got the internet connection or who hasn't got the internet sign up, right? So what will he do? He will make a call, and through the phone he will order the food, right? So customer, phone order, internet customer, internet order. So both are doing what? In fact, both are placing order, but what one functionality is internet order and the other functionality is the phone order. And in fact, generally both the orders are order. So either it is placed by the phone or the internet, both are orders. So you can see this arrow, and this arrow describes that this is the super use case or the parent use case. These are the sub use cases or the child use cases, and these are connected to the super. So all the properties, the common properties of place order will be inherited by phone order and the internet order, and they will have their own behavior and characteristics of as per their requirements. So this is another diagram for the generalization. So now check this one again. So there is an ordinary user, right? There is a system administrator. System administrator again is generalizing to a ordinary user, and in fact, this ordinary user tries to open a file, right? So now, in fact, we can go for the specific methods to open a file. So now check. This is the super use case or the parent use case. And there are two different types that are in fact sub use cases or child use cases. So check open by file name. So now I can open a file through the file name. I can type the file name. So now check. I just write down the typed file name and I open the file. This is the first thing. And the second one is in fact in some time I try a file, I give it a name that is not present in my hard disk, in my storage. So what happens in fact, in this case, if I try to open a file, this functionality in fact extends, and now it has extension. There is attempt to open file that does not exist. So I am giving the file name that is not there. So it never always happens. So that is why here we have extend, right? So this is something that again we are studying the same concept, that is extend. So we try to open a file, and in fact it has some option that I may type the wrong file name, wrong spelling. So I will go to this one and I will find that I'm trying to open a file that is not there, or which name is not there. The other one is open the file by browsing. So I open a file by browsing my explorer, and look, in order to do this, if I'll have to explore, definitely I'll have to perform another task, that is browse for the file. So it is include. I said definitely. If I'll have to browse, so I'll have to browse for file. So in fact, these two are the different use cases that have been generalized due to their common behavior and characteristics into a single use case, that is open file. Generalization is use cases. Several actors can play the same role in a particular use case. Thus, a teller and an accountant, both of whom check the balance of an account, are seen as the same external entity by the use cases. So now we check here. This is the user. Now I'm not talking about in fact the particular use case, right? I'm talking about the actors. So now I'll say that if I have one person who is pilot, one is navigator, one is co-pilot, and now I say that air traffic controller, the person sitting on the ground, instructs the crew member, the person in the plane. So now here we have this person, and in fact these persons are Here, specifically Copilot, Navigator, and Pilot. So crew members are of three types. But when I take Copilot, Navigator, and Pilot, they generally are the crew members. So this is generalization for the actors, right? So we can generalize the actors as well with the same arrowhead that I told you in the generalization in use cases. So again, this is the same diagram, and now we have studied all the concepts about it. There is the use case, association, generalization, include, extend, and system boundary. How to draw? In fact, we have studied this earlier, so I just revise. Identify the actors. For each category of users, identify all roles played by the users. Identify what are the user required the system to be performed to achieve these goals. Number four, create use cases for every goal. Number five, structure the use cases. And then number six, prioritize, review, estimate, and validate the users. Now here are a few examples, and now we can study those well. In the last class, we talked about the very basic structure. Now we have, if a person wants to have food, right, and he orders the food, check. He orders the food, and now this food can contain wine or not, right? So this is not must that when a user orders the food, he also orders the wine. That is why we put what here? Extend. Extend means it is not necessary, right? And now the waiter takes the order. Now waiter serves the food. Now food may contain the wine, so it is again extend. It is not must. So he will serve the food. Now that patron or the guest or the customer, he eats the good, he eats the food, and now again he may or he may not drink the wine, right? So again it is extend. Then this person pays for the food. Look here like this, and now he may not pay for the wine. If he has not taken the wine, he will not pay for it. And the cashier gets the payment for the food. And if the customer has taken the wine, he will also get the payment for the wine. So this is something extend. This is another one that can takes all the include and extend option. Check. A customer wants to withdraw money, withdraw cash, right? So now check, withdraw cash can have two kinds of accounts. Number one, withdraw the checking account, withdraw the saving account, right? So these two are the sub use cases or the child use cases, and these has had been generalized to a use case that is withdraw cash. Now, in fact, when we withdraw the cash, then there may arise a situation when I have not got the sufficient balance, right? So in that case, this extends with, look, withdraw, extend, insufficient fund. So insufficient fund option or use case can be there, but it is not must. If I have got the enough fund in my account, I can withdraw. But if I haven't got the enough fund, then it will invoke. Then check. Customer withdraws the cash, and here bank system provides him the cash. Now, if I want to withdraw the cash or customer wants to withdraw the cash, in fact, first of all, the customer must be authenticated, his PIN code, his card, everything. So now check. In fact, this dotted line is linking it with the authenticate user. So this is another use case, and in fact, it is include association with it. Similar is the case with the deposit, transfer, pay, right? So now all these options require the authentication. That is why you can see clearly that here we have include association. So this is another example that describes the generalization, the include, the exclude, the extend, right? So again here, check the same thing. The administration, system maintenance includes the shutdown and repairing of the system. Bank customer, he logins, and it includes the transaction. If he wants to perform a transaction, he needs to log in. Then he can withdraw, he can check balance, he can deposit, he can transfer the fund. And if he tries to log in and he provides the wrong pin, then if there is an extend, not include, extend sometimes, but it is not always, we get the use case bad pin invoked, right? So this is another example. So try to understand all these concepts. The basic one we have studied in the last class, and these that are the little bit complex. So try to draw a complete, detailed use case diagram for your class project and submit it in the next class. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. हमो दो हो गए, छह रह गए शायद। मैंने कितने बनाने थे? सात आठ नौ बनाने थे। हो जाएंगे हमो। परेशान तुमने नहीं होना बिल्कुल, ठीक है ना? अभी दो हुए हैं। ये वाला लंबा हो गया थोड़ा सा ना, मेरे अंदाजे से ज्यादा हो गया है। कोई बात नहीं, कोई बात नहीं, होता रहता है, होता रहता है। Presentation 6 class class lecture notes presentation 6 class